Hello. Okay, so we're basically live. James, could you hear me all right? Yeah?
I can hear you perfectly, Yassine. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so thank you. Okay, so we're going live. Thank you for and welcome everyone that's watching. So we got 4 guys here at the moment, actually 14 now. So if you're watching this, could you kindly share this in like groups or WhatsApp groups? So today we're just gonna try and just don't want to be too long, but we got quite the main agenda point is everyone been contacting us regarding this GMB and Uber deal, which we briefly talk about. Also, update on the Uber compensation and the tribunal hearing that we had last week. And then we'll touch on the TfL High Court action that ADCU is looking into. So just to start off with, James. So we got like a few guys at the moment already. We got like, if you're watching it, it'd be good. I mean, one of the things that really helps us is if you could post a comment and let us know where you're watching from, which city. So, like there's a lot of things happening in different cities, and like everyone already knows, we're a union that represent drivers in many different cities. And if there's any issues or concerns around different cities, we know who we're talking to and who the audience are. But for the guys that watching this afterwards, watch the whole video because rather than us trying to repeat stuff again and again. So if you're joining later on, just rewatch it again. So the video will stay live afterwards, so you can watch it. But anyway, thank you for watching. James, over to you quickly. If you want to just quickly summarize and start about this amazing deal that like the new Uber that's now come forward.
The new Uber.
Yeah, the new Uber, the amazing Uber, like the Uber that I met with in 2013. Yeah.
There's a barrister at Uber's licensing hearing a few years ago who used to describe Uber in court as Uber in Uber's clothing. Which I thought was a good way to describe Uber. The new Uber. So look, Uber has done a recognition deal with the GMB Union, and that's quite a departure for Uber, but not altogether completely surprising because Uber kind of snookered now anyway. After the campaign we've been running for the past few years and the legal action we've taken, so they're looking for shelter. They've signed a recognition deal with the GMB. It's a start, which has got to be a good thing. But what's interesting is pay's off the table. So pay, fares, all of that stuff is off the table according to the Financial Times. So that's what Uber's saying to the Financial Times, that they're not going to talk about money. They are going to allow GMB to recruit down at the Green Light Hub. So you might see a podium or something down there. And they'll meet a couple of times a year to discuss things. Safety, I think they're going to discuss, and deactivations and so on. So it's a great step forward to see a company like Uber countenancing, discussing things with the union. That's to be welcomed, and we congratulate the GMB for having achieved that. But we have concerns about it though, because the thing is, let's look at where we're at. Where we're at is that we're only 3 months out from the Supreme Court ruling, and at that point Uber was saying it wasn't going to observe anything that the Supreme Court said. We're going to try and put it in a box and said this applied to 2 people from 2016. They weren't going to change anything today. And then a month later in March, which is 2 months ago, they came back and said, well, we'll observe worker status, we'll protect minimum wage for the period that you're POB. But sure, of course, everybody's going to earn minimum wage POB. You'd expect so anyway, but not the waiting time, which was included in the deal, and so they're not going to accrue. It was included in the ruling, of course, and has been for years. And so the accrual of holiday pay would only be on POB time as well. So that's a problem, because Uber is just simply not compliant with the Supreme Court rulings, not meeting statutory rights, statutory requirements. And what do I mean by statutory rights? These are the basic rights that everybody's entitled to. This is the ground floor. This is what everybody's entitled to. And we just have a feeling like, it's a kind of a principled position that we're not going to negotiate with Uber over statutory rights that everybody's entitled to. Like, why should we get in a hole and dig our way out of it? Like, these are the rights that we are entitled to under the law. It's being confirmed by the highest court in the land. So why would we now negotiate with Uber to respect those? So that's one issue. The second issue, which we're going to discuss in a minute, is that Uber has been attacking that Supreme Court ruling. It's taken a new action in the High Court, which we will talk about in this broadcast in a minute. And also, we have to be concerned with Uber's behavior with these types of agreements in North America. So in North America, it's been very divisive. It has signed deals with yellow unions, they're called over there, and scab unions like Independent Drivers Guild, where they've been spraying IDG with like serious money, like $75,000 a day, which is just ginormous amounts of money. But in return, that they're signing these agreements with these unions that they're not allowed to protest, they're not allowed to discuss pay, they're not allowed to strike, they're not allowed to take any legal action from them. So basically neutered them. And this is what's happened in New York and in California. There's a lot of background noise from you, Yasin, I think. Is it from you?
I know, it's just a little kid. Hang on.
Okay. And so that's better, thanks. So these types of agreements, although I'm sure it'll be different here, have been very controversial in America, because Uber has, there's a fine balance in these types of agreements. Do these agreements boost the voice of the worker, or do they suppress it? And so we feel, look, while Uber's not obeying the law, they're not respecting the statutory minimum rights that everybody's entitled to, while they're attacking the Supreme Court ruling in a new action in the High Court, which we'll discuss, and while they're behaving this way in North America, we don't feel it's the right time for us to be jumping into that kind of an agreement with Uber, because we have to keep the pressure on them. We have to get them complying. We have to get them listening to real driver worker power. So it would be a mistake to get into an agreement where we would suppress ourselves unless there was something on the table. And of course, Uber's saying the pay is not on the table. So for us, it's not the right time. Yasin.
No, you're right, because just to give, especially like we've got some of the older guys today watching us, and people would know, like, we've been campaigning for a very long time, like many years. So, and I'll just give you an example, like in 2014, like some of the drivers that we were involved with, we had a meeting, like many meetings at the time with Uber, but having these meetings does not mean anything if we can't resolve our issues. So as Jane mentioned, rightly so, like we fought all the way up to the Supreme Court, and we won certain rights. Yeah. So this deal is not for us, and the point is we continue fighting and doing what we're doing, but at the same time, like it is some achievement, because at least Uber's I don't know. I mean, I would say like it is some achievement in some ways, as it's something. But the point here is it's about pay. And that's what we're fighting for, and that's what our campaign has always been around. So if we're gonna undermine our pay structure until Uber turns around and gives us something like what we won already, the fight continues. And like later on in the discussion, we'll talk about it. But one of the things that James touched on briefly, we're seeing more and more of this, like what Uber's doing, like what we see in New York's, in California. We're seeing Uber actually trying to go in to get these unions in there, but really all they're doing is undermining the workers. So it's the same as TfL, like Transport for London. Like for years, we've been, taking them, we've been fighting them from where we can. So we could be sitting inside, but it doesn't achieve anything if they're not listening to us. And that's the situation we're in right now. The problem we have is, like what we want as workers, like our voice is not being heard, and we still have a long fight. For example, like we did everything we could with the congestion charge, but we did what we can. But the point was, just by being inside does not mean our issue are resolved. So if everyone's thinking that just by having some kind of recognition deal means it's the end, no. So it's very clear, like GMB is a big massive union, and as ADCU, like we got years of experience, and we've been organizing drivers for years. We got some of the great leaders in many different cities, and we're growing at such an enormous rate, and we'll continue to do that. And that's what gives us the power. And one of the things that Uber knows is we won't settle. We won't just go in and give up or roll over very easily. So we'll continue doing that. But the main thing and biggest concern is there's a lot of misconception out there. I see a lot of people attacking the GMB, for example, especially like nothing to hide about this. Like everyone knows the background into IWGB. Like they got a history of like I'm sure James could explain this more. Like they got a history of doing this kind of stuff, like attacking the unison. Yeah. Then above all, they attacked us. Yeah. And what they done is.
I agree. Like I've been trying to. You might have seen I was choosing my words very carefully. Right? Because I put cards on the table, Yassine. Right? I personally disappointed in this agreement because we fought all these years for these basic rights to be respected, and we won those. And I can't hide it that I'm personally disappointed that the GMB would sign that kind of an agreement. And leave that on the table, or leave that, walk away and leave that on the table.
I get that.
But I'm getting to the point you're raising. But as a trade unionist, the one thing you don't do is attack other unions, right? And that's the one thing we won't do.
It's just about attack chain. The point is we did not want this deal. So whether like I disagree, like as a union, ADCU, our members, we're not really happy with the deal. So GMB was happy with the deal. They've done the deal. So that's a step forward for them. But the point here is, and I think it's wrong when another union, especially like IWG, comes in and attacks it when they actually try to get something.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make, Yassine. It's not that we're not attacking it, but the IWGB has attacked the GMB, and I think that's not the right thing to do in front of Uber. That's not the right thing to do. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. So for example, like when we won at the Supreme Court, and this is like Jay mentioned before, and GMB, in fairness, they were involved in the Supreme Court, where IWGB had no stake in it. They did not have any claimant in this. And immediately after we won at the Supreme Court, IWGB was the first one to go in there. Yeah. So the point was, look, like
at least the GMB waited. At least the GMB waited a month until Uber at least partially respected the rights for the working time, which was, if you remember when at the Supreme Court in February, GMB was defiant. We're not going to respect anything. We're not going to do anything. Then a month later in March, voila, they said, okay, we'll respect worker rights, but only for POB time. Well, the IWGB, I mean, I felt really betrayed by that personally, because on the day that we came out of the Supreme Court after winning, when Uber was defiant, the IWGB went behind everyone's back and wrote to Uber to ask for a collective agreement. This is completely wrong.
But exactly, but the question here was, who was it? Was it the workers? Was it the drivers, Uber drivers that did it? And this is like everyone talks about attacking it, but the point here is what benefits drivers, and GMB is a big union, so IWGB is definitely not, especially after the scabby moves they made recently, and the way they attacked us, the way they attacked Unison, and like I said, they were willing to do something like a similar kind of deal, but just because they couldn't get in, it doesn't mean that. Now, we got to look at this like openly, and at the same time, like who would you have representing you? A bunch of academics, like young kids that just come out of university, or would you have a traditional union, or would you have like a union like ours that actually been involved working in the environment? So you understand, like you got to knock it out. So the point here is, look, you know, I'm not saying GMB did a great deal, but IWGB is definitely not a union to comment on this. Yeah, they do not have no
Yeah,
stake. Yeah,
I think
and
so.
that's
I
the
think
bit
where it
that
went.
annoys me. Yeah,
I think we went a bit far yesterday. Is
yeah.
that I saw the GMB rep go on Twitter and leave a very heartfelt and emotional appeal on video that he was being attacked and harassed, and that's just not that's not the way to behave.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, look, we can wrap it up and move on. But I think look, I think our position is pretty clear, and that is that look, it's a step forward, but just to be really clear about ADCU, we can't go into that kind of an agreement while Uber is not respecting the basic rights of drivers. Well, it's still, I mean, this shift to the fixed price model is, make no mistake, that's a cut in pay. That's a decrease in pay. And that's a decrease in how much you take home every week. And wait till the traffic bills now, as we recover from the pandemic, you're going to be even more out of pocket because those journeys are going to take you longer time and longer distance. And you're going to have to pay for that. So, you know, the pay is not on the table. The existing rights are not on the table, and we can't go into an agreement when that's the situation. And then secondly, Uber are attacking it in this new High Court action, which we should probably get on and talk about. And then thirdly, what they're doing in America, you know, they've been dividing drivers and dividing the community of drivers in America. And that's the big message here, is that we may not agree with this deal, but we need to stay united, and no union should be attacking another union. I mean, that's
one of the main questions, James. Sorry, I mean, let's just put it out, because, like I said, we've got nothing to worry about, and we've been organising, we've been out there in the open. So a lot of drivers contact us, like non-members, people that ain't part of a union. They say, "Look, should we join the GMB?" What's our position on that? Like, are we telling people not to join the GMB? Are we saying people are welcome to join both unions, or are we telling people to boycott GMB? Like, what's the message?
Oh, no, it's everybody's individual choice to which union they want to join. Of course, I think ADCU is the best union because you know look, make no mistake, nothing is going to be achieved by anybody unless a lot of pressure is put on Uber. And unless you're prepared to put the pressure on Uber, Uber is not going to bend. And so, you know, we need to continue to fight and be independent and go after these companies. And that's what we're doing. We're continuing the legal action, which Yassine is going to talk about in a minute, because we're not finished with this. Supreme Court ruling is just a step in this process. That's not the end. All the Supreme Court decided, are we workers? Now we drop down to the level and we continue the case. So we continue that fight. But the pressure has to be kept on Uber, and we'll talk about what we're doing in the High Court. So I definitely think that we're the right union, and also in terms of fighting for you. The thing is that, you know, Uber might claim that they're going to do something on deactivations, but they're not, because their license depends on fairly tight policing of the platform. Like, you look back, Uber lost their license over 20 drivers out of 90,000 over several years who were messing around uploading fake pictures to their ID. And TfL took their license over 20 drivers out of 90,000 over several years. That's how tough TfL was on Uber. So if Uber thinks you need to be deactivated, they're not really going to roll over very much. Where we step in is that we'll defend you in the magistrates court. If this goes to TfL, we'll knock it out there. If we can't knock it out there, we'll go to the magistrates court. If we can't knock it out there, we'll go to the Crown Court. And that's the type of legal support you'll get with us. And we'll continue to challenge Uber on this stuff, including the deactivations, because no matter what Uber says, they can't set up a preferential deactivation process. So I think you're definitely in the right union with us.
Yes, yeah, no, I mean, we're the biggest, you know, like I said, like, we represent largely a large amount of Uber drivers, and we're not talking about 100. I'm talking about thousands, yeah, over thousands with the S, yeah. Now, I just posted the link in the chat section or the comment section, so you can see like some of the action that we have been doing, and we'll continue doing them. So this is about the action we took against Uber in Holland. But I think we need to move on because there's a lot of things happening. Regardless, this is just a distraction for us guys. So as James touched on, we got Uber in the States trying to buy out these company unions. At the same time, we have the regulator here, Transport for London, you know, doing something similar. Hang on, let me just yeah, James, quickly. I'll let you. I posted this thing about this High Court action. I think people need to understand.
Yeah, okay, I can cover this very quickly. This is really important. What's happened was in the Supreme Court ruling, right? A lot of the worker status around was the debate in court was who's really the boss, right? So who's really the boss was the question, right? Uber said, well, the driver's the boss. We're just the driver's agent. And if you look at your contract or the rider's contract, it says that you and the driver, you and the passenger are contracting together, and Uber's just simply your agent. That's the way Uber set that up. Now, what the Supreme Court wrote, Lord Leggett wrote the ruling for the Supreme Court. He said, listen, I'm not here to decide this, but I don't think that this contract setup that Uber has, where they're saying that the drivers and the passengers are contracted together, he said, I don't think that that's legal under TfL regulations, because under TfL regulations, drivers cannot accept a booking. And so what Uber is saying is that the driver and the passenger are contracted together, and that Uber simply accepts the booking, but on your behalf. And Leggett said two things. He said, firstly, no, I don't think you can even accept the booking on their behalf, because that's them accepting the booking, and they're not allowed to do that under the regulation. And number two, there was never any agreement. There was never any contractual agreement between drivers and Uber to say, oh yeah, Uber acts as your agent. That was never written on paper. Now, the thing is, these comments that were made in the Supreme Court ruling, they're not binding. They're called in obiter, which means that it's not relevant to what the Supreme Court was asked to rule on. So they haven't ruled on it, but they're just, you know, as they pass by, I've commented on it. So this is a big deal for Uber, because if the Supreme Court is right, and for Transport for London, then it means that Uber has been potentially, the current business model is illegal under TfL regs. And that's a big problem for TfL. It's embarrassing for TfL. In fact, the whole thing has been embarrassing for TfL, because TfL has never stood up and protected us as workers all these years, no matter how much we demanded that they do. They've stood back and allowed the exploitation of drivers to happen because they want the cheap fares for the traveling public. So the second bit of that is a problem with tax, with VAT, because Uber recognized that if they can convince HMRC that the driver and the passenger are contracted together, then the VAT responsibility falls to the driver. And since most drivers are below 85,000 VAT threshold, then nobody pays VAT. But if the Supreme Court is right about this, then Uber is the boss, Uber is the principal, and Uber should be paying 20% VAT on everything. And the estimate is that they owe the VAT in back tax £2.5 billion. So what Uber has done is they've gone to the High Court with an application to get the High Court to declare that this business model, where Uber's the agent, the driver is the boss, and the passenger, is legal under TfL regulations. And if they succeed in doing that, the impact on drivers is significant, because it means that it's harder for us to pressure TfL to take responsibility for Uber's exploitation of drivers. You know, because we have to be fit and proper, but so do Uber. And if Uber are in breach of the law on minimum wage and holiday pay and so on, you know, we can make the case. You can't give them a license until they agree to pay drivers properly. But TfL have always insisted that's none of their business. But with this, if Uber gets this High Court declaration, it's much simpler now for TfL to stand back and say, no, nothing we can do. You know, they can run you into the poorhouse, but there's nothing we can do. And also they're vulnerable for VAT. So that's what they've gone to the High Court, to get the High Court to declare that the Supreme Court is wrong and that they're all fine. We have to step into that case, and we've applied to intervene in that case. And the reason being is that Uber is the claimant, TfL is the defendant, but TfL is actually working with Uber on it. We've seen the correspondence. they've said to Uber, yeah, no, we should get a declaration here, and let's move the wording around a little bit. But TfL is not resisting it, and they're certainly not standing up for you and me. So we have to go to the High Court to defend that case. The other intervener is UTAG, the black cabs, but they're doing it from a different perspective, because what they're saying is that if the driver is accepting the booking, then they must be applying for hire. So that's their angle. We don't care about that, and it's nothing to do with us. And actually, it's a side point. It's not even realistic. But our point is worker rights. We have to defend our worker rights, and we have to challenge and make sure that Uber respects it and that TfL respects it. So it's a very important action, and we're going to go and intervene and be there.
Yes. I mean, I think it's really important. So it's not just like I've mentioned, like we're establishing every city. So we've got cars here from Birmingham watching us. So again, he's right. Like all these councils, whether it's Birmingham City Council, they're all watching what TfL is doing with Uber. And we see the similar kind of pattern where we're seeing like like Transport for London revoking driver's license because of all these bullshit complaints coming in from Uber, and now we're seeing that in other councils doing exactly the same. So it's clear that these councils are talking to one another, and they're watching what TfL is doing. And if TfL succeed and we don't get involved in this case, it will actually potentially have an impact in each and every city that we're in or our members are in. So it's a very important fight for us guys to continue. But I think briefly, like this is just the start. So all we done is just file the application to get involved in this case. So over the coming days, we will keep you updated on what's happening and what we're doing. I don't want to keep this too long because we've been on for 26. Is there anything else you want to add on to this, James, or
No, I think that's it. We had what else did we want to talk about?
Just the Uber conversation. So last week on a Wednesday, we had our trial, not a trial, sorry, 1 day in tribunal back after the Supreme Court verdict. So just quickly to update, because you got two sets of people, like people that are gone direct with Uber, and then you got the other set of drivers that are going through solicitors. So if you filed through the solicitors, your solicitor was probably there on Wednesday representing you. Yeah. So what the tribunal agreed is they're going to they have set a date for June next year, where we'll have a trial where they'll work out the remedies and compensation. So basically, generally speaking, it's been delayed till next year. The right thing for Uber now to do is start working with these solicitors, working out these claims, not actually wait till next year and let the tribunal go through a full-blown hearing. But just to give you an update on that, so if Uber has offered you directly, that's your choice. You can go and deal with them directly. If you want to use a law firm, as a union, we have a law firm that's willing to do your case at 15%. But then again, it's your choice. You're completely in control. You could go direct with Uber or you can go through a law firm. That's your choice. Yeah. So it will take a little while, but one thing for sure, if you're going direct to Uber, they will settle with you a lot quicker. So you'll get your money a lot quicker. And that's about it, really. There's not really much more to add to that. James, you got anything else to add on that, or that's it?
No, I think that's it. I mean, look, I feel really good at where we're at. We're growing very strong. Actually, we haven't finished out May yet, but already this month has been the highest number of joiners to the union ever. It's just been astounding to see that level of growth. And I want to say, on behalf of not me, but on behalf of everybody else in the union, thank you to everybody who's joined, because this power is making a huge difference. It's making a huge difference. It's putting us into the High Court. It is helping us continue this pressure on Uber that Yasin is talking about. I mean, you have to be very patient. It takes it's a whole year we have to wait to go back to court against Uber on this tribunal stuff.
Right.
We're continuing with our cases in Amsterdam. We're filing our appeal because we already got a lot of rights in Amsterdam, but we want to get more, so we want to file those appeals in the middle of June. And then Uber's trying to challenge the default judgments for the 6 drivers that we got reactivated. So, you know, we're going to we have a good shot at stopping them getting those default judgments overturned. But if they do get them overturned, we'll fight them.
Yeah.
And so we're a fighting union, and that's all that these people know. And when the time is right, we will negotiate. And, you know, to a certain degree, we do. You know, the thing is, we have a finger in every pie. There's not much that doesn't happen that we don't know about one way or another. You know, we have our ways of knowing. Put it that way. And when the time is right, with these companies, when they're serious, when they put something on the table, we'll talk to them. But you know, the thing is, well, we met as a committee on Wednesday, whenever this thing was out, to discuss it and to agree what our position was. And I think the entire executive committee unanimously agreed that we can't, you know, we couldn't enter into an agreement with anybody when A, pay is not on the table, B, we're asked to negotiate towards legal minimums, you know, and I feel like you need to negotiate from legal minimums. You know, you shouldn't have to negotiate for your rights. You know, they're your rights. That's the starting point for everybody. Yeah. But we got to keep this pressure on these people, and and we're doing well, and we keep growing, keep building the power, and we'll keep delivering.
You're right, James. And just like I see a lot of comments from drivers, and it's not just comments here. We get loads of phone calls, emails, and messages from members and non-members. You know, like asking us about, you know, like Uber's paying them for 2 years compensation and whether they should get more and how much the claim is. And it's just like, I keep saying this, and as a union, we're not here to sit there and work out your claim. So if Uber's offering you 2 years, it's your choice whether you want to take that or not. Only a solicitor could sit there and work out your claim. So it's your choice whether you want to go to a law firm to get your claim. But the point is, we've got to move beyond that. And we've got to start looking at the bigger issue, which we just briefly touched on, like issues with TfL, the licensing, whether you're in Birmingham City Council, how do we take them on? How do we resolve our issue? Who's going to protect you when you've got a license issue? And the main thing here is, like, a lot of people are now seeing this compensation. Like, Uber has made some changes, like you're getting your holiday pay and soon the pension. This was all something that ADCU fought for. You know, so we're stronger in numbers, and at the same time, it's not enough. If you look at what Uber's doing, the fixed prices and all that kind of stuff, so we got a lot of campaigns to run and, you know, to force. And, you know, like, it's not just Uber. We also got to look at like Bolt, Ola, and all these other operators doing something similar. We just recently come out of a case with Northampton last month. You know, so we're doing what we can to take on these companies. But really, it comes down to, you know, like, we're heavily funded by, well, 100% funded by membership, yeah. And the more members we have, the more power we have, and that's what it really comes down to. You know, we could run these actions, we could do what needs to be done, and also just while we're on this live, and we've got a few guys watching today, we have a big demo outside Bolt on the 22nd. You know, so we'll talk more about that in the coming days. So it's really down to the drivers supporting us. It's a lot easier to post, comment, watch these videos, but we need people to, you know, be with us in numbers, and that's where the power comes from. We shouldn't be having to go into court, you know, to run these lengthy battles. You know, we could do this if we're together, united, and that's what it really comes down to. That's it, James. Yeah, should we end it, or is there anything else we want to add? I mean, I can't really go through all the comments for some reason, but
no, I think it's good. I think we're in a good place. The union is growing very fast. It's very strong. We've got the largest workforce base, unionized and private hire, and in the classic gig economy as we know it. And let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. You know, we'll keep fighting. We'll be there. We'll have your back 100% of the way. You get in a jam with TfL or any council or whatever, you know, we got your back. Any rogue operator, we'll take him on. We took on Bounds. We're taking on TfL now. as well, because they're not doing the job. They're not standing up for us. They have an obligation. We're in a publicly licensed industry. TfL can't sit in their hands and watch a big operator like Uber violate our rights this way. No, they can't. That's why we go to the High Court. And that's why we go back to protest. Like, the thing is, we got to do it all. We're going to do this massive demo against Bolt. That's going to be the biggest one yet. And you know what? Bolt need a slap. Bolt have been, Uber is bad, but Bolt is worse than Uber 100 times over. And you know what's worse about Bolt? Bolt go around Europe trying to pretend, because they're a European operator, that they're somehow more progressive about labor issues and trade unions, but they are not. They're terrible. And we just got an order against Bolt from the Estonian Data Protection Authority, 2 of them, because they were violating the data protection rights of our members, 35 of them. And we've got an order from the Data Protection Authority. I mean, Bolt is going to do either work with us, either the easy way or the hard way. But this demo coming up on what's the 22nd of June?
Yes, 22nd June. Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about it. It hasn't. I just discussed last week in our London meeting, and drivers agreed. So it's still going through the pipeline. You still got it, but the fact is, we're doing one. Yeah. Like I said, Bolt will probably do something similar. Probably go and try and look for a union like GMB so they could sit, because they know we're coming after them. And you're going to see, and when we won at Supreme Court, we said this, you're going to see changes. You're going to see regulators everywhere. They're all sweating. They don't know what to do. And this is why this TfL action come forward with Uber. Like, the point here is, look, you're going to see a lot of changes, companies trying to do these deals, regulators trying to do some kind of changes in their regulations, all this kind, because they're stuck. But we can't let them get away. We work so hard to get to that stage. And as we grow, as we get stronger and stronger, it's going to become harder. And I see one of the guys posted a comment from Scotland. Yes, we have Scotland is our stronghold as well. So we have some great people there, like Eddie, Barry, Eddie. So Edinburgh, Glasgow. So yeah, we're national. So if you're watching, it doesn't matter where you're watching from in the UK. If you're a private hire driver, join our union, ADCU, and we're the biggest out there.
Well, we've got a brilliant organisation in Scotland, Eddie and Alfie, and they've had some big wins against Glasgow City Council. They've delivered on the discretionary payments that the council should be paying to drivers to top up above the SEISS, and that's just great organising. I mean, it's a great example of if you've got the power of people. Can force a council to turn around, and that's what's happened in Glasgow. A really powerful group, and also have been defending their members, defending licenses in Glasgow recently too, with our solicitors that we've partnered up with in Glasgow. Fantastic. Nottingham as well, huge base, and we even have the MP. Even the MP in Nottingham donates a portion of our salary to support our work, so that'll tell you, where we're at in Nottingham. Northampton, Yassine has just talked about. We've taught Bounds a lesson there by going to tribunal, because they wouldn't listen to reason. I mean, we'd always like to talk to these companies first and work something out. But if they're not going to obey the law, then we're not going to stand back. Yeah. So a very strong organisation, Birmingham as well, but really strong all over the country, and we're doing great.
Yeah, I mean, that's all right, James. I mean, I don't want to drag it on too long, because it's just meant to be a quick touch up, because we're gonna do more videos in the coming day. Also, check out for your email. So I just posted the link for Bolt. I mean, if you want to get involved or more detail with the protest, there's a link where you could get more details. Most importantly, we'll continue to fight here. We've been fighting for the last 6 years. Yeah, we just carry on doing what we're doing. Nothing changes here. Nothing changes. We just do what we're doing. We're also working with drivers from many different countries. We're on the board. Actually, I recently got elected to be on the board again. So there's a lot of exciting things happening. In terms of ADCU. It's not just national. We're actually doing what we can internationally to take on and hold companies such as Uber accountable. And it's the same like when you look at Bolt and Ola. You know, we have to force them to do what they do, to pay the drivers right, fair pay, which is such as holiday pay, pensions, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and we'll get it. We'll get it. It's but the point is, we just need to just be consistent, and we just got to not be distracted. And that's it. Yes, thank you everyone for watching. And don't forget, if you're watching this again, or if you're going to be watching this afterward, do like this video, share it. If you're not a member, it's very important to be a member of a union. So there's a link to join us. So you can see that in the scrolling at the bottom. And that's it from me. James, final word from you. And
no, I've said enough tonight. But see you all very soon. Don't be a stranger. Call us if you need anything. And we'll see you soon. Thank you for the support, not that you give to us, but that you give to each other, building the best fighting union that's delivering for private hire drivers and couriers up and down the country.
Yeah. Okay, no worries. Thank you.
All right.